All right. We are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Drew's Book Reviews. This is going to be a fun stream. We got a bunch of other really cool booktubers here. We're going to let them all introduce themselves here. It is September. People are going back to school. If you're catching this on the replay, welcome to the replay. Thank you for tuning in. If you're here live, fantastic. Glad to see you here. So, September, people are going back to school. University kids going to school. If you got kids, they're going to school. I thought it would be fun to do the back to school book tag live with all these awesome booktubers. So, everybody, introduce yourself, starting with Epic, and tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll do a round of that and get right into the book tag.
So, just so that she doesn't get offended, all these booktubers and Kaya, because Kaya is obviously the star of the show right now. Epic Tales, I'm in the building right now with a bunch of booktubers I love, I respect, and I'm just so excited to be a part of this book tag. And yeah, check my channel out, check these guys out. Dope
Everybody's
stuff.
channel's linked in the description, by the way, as well as Discord. So definitely check them out and subscribe to everybody in this stream and join our Discords.
That's good advice. That's good advice. So I assume I'm next here.
Yes.
Based on screen position.
Yes,
So,
you're next, Niko.
like I'm just interrupting whoever's going. But hi, I am Niko from Nikos Book Reviews. And yeah, I read a ton of fantasy, as you're gonna find out from my answers. And that's pretty much it. I discovered today I have way too many unread books. It's a fun fact about me. I knew I did, but I confirmed it today. So, but
I think we
I'm
could all
looking.
relate.
Yeah, that was our pre live discussion. But yeah, I'm excited for this one. So a lot of fun people. Some I've worked with, some I haven't. Everyone I'm very familiar with though. So
All right, fantastic. And Jolien, you're up.
Hi everyone. I am Jolien. I have a booktube channel, Jolien Reads, and I'm from Belgium. You can probably hear it. English isn't my native language. So if I stumble, that's why. But I'm very excited to be here. It's a super fun tag to do. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I have some good recommendations, in my opinion.
All right, thank you. All right, Andrew, you're up.
Hi, I'm Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads. I'm a booktuber who does fantasy and sci-fi. I partner with the Discord with Niko from Nikos Book Reviews, and this is my superstar daughter, Kaya. And so this is going to be Kaya's Wizardly Reads today. So yeah.
Excellent. All right, so let's check out this booktube back to school book tag. I actually thought of it because my kids are going to school. We've done homeschool so long, and now they're in public, and I'm like, ooh, I wonder if there's a school book tag, and that's where I found it. So I thought this would be fun. All right, so we'll start off with the first question: the new school year. So I will just go in the same order we introduced ourselves to answer the questions here, just to keep it simple. So, new school year, the start is something new. Pick an awesome debut novel. So, my choice for that is Ender's Game. I absolutely loved this book when I first read it. Orson Scott Card's debut novel. And while I'm not as big a fan of Card as I used to be, I have fond memories of reading Ender's Game. I love this story. I thought the movie was great, and the whole Enderverse in general is pretty good. At least the original Enderverse books, not so much the expanded Enderverse universe. But Ender's Game is my pick for a fantastic debut novel. I'll always remember this book with fond memories. Absolutely love it. All right, Epic, how about you?
So, Yolene, when she was making her introduction, she said she's going to make a few recommendations. Like I firsthand can say that like her recommendations are on point. Now she
Oh,
recommended this book to me. It's called Blood Song. I don't have the physical book right here, but like I have the picture. Blood Song is everything I love about fantasy. It's grim dark, it's coming of age, it's the world itself is so good, the character work, it rivals Joe Abercrombie's work as far as I'm concerned.
mhm.
And the reason why this particularly stood out to me is because he does Anthony Ryan does something different from Joe Abercrombie, in the sense that like Joe Abercrombie, while Joe Abercrombie would like go into the interiority of the characters, how they are feeling, their thoughts and everything. Anthony Ryan doesn't give you any of that. He just the characters just act. And as because the characters act, like you are left to decipher who these characters are. And Valen, the main character, is so goddamn cool. He is so cool. And yeah, it's a book I highly recommend, and it doesn't read like a debut novel at all. At all, it's like one of my favorite reads of 2021. So check it out.
You know, literally, Andrew was just telling me that I have to read that book
Yeah.
recently, and others were talking about having read it too around. So yeah, the fact that you used that one, I'm like, that's so funny. I love that you had a picture too. That is some preparation right there. That you were ready for that. But
Yeah, it was
You know,
pre live this thing. I was just like, oh shit, these guys are going to show books. I must
you know, Epic
download
says
the
we
pictures
ruined his
ASAP.
TBR. Yeah, Epic says we ruined his TBR, but I think he's done enough for ruining our TBRs as well.
Sure, sure. So for this one, I went back. Actually, I can't believe this novel is 15 years old at this point, but I have read over the last couple years a lot of really, really great debuts. But one of my favorite ever debut novels was The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott
Mm,
Lynch.
mm.
It's
I
on my wish
remember
list.
it's really good, and I mean, it's definitely one that this is 15 years old, and we're still only 3 books in out of 7. So you got time. Yeah, your version's prettier than mine. I've
You
had
should
this
totally
for
get this one,
years.
man.
I might at some point, but I've had this like I all of them are in mass market paperback, and it's still in pretty good condition. But I just remember being absolutely blown away that this was a debut novel because to me at least, and I know some people are hit or miss with it, but Lynch just did such a fantastic job with this story and all of the twists and the turns and the way everything came together was just so good. And that can be really hard for a debut author. Sometimes things don't come together, and this was fantastic. And I do think I liked the other two, but I think the first book is actually better than the next two, which also is hard to do when the first one's your debut. So I still
Yeah,
need
that
to
could be
read
hard.
Sunland too.
That could be hard for sure. And that's going to be some of my next purchases, by the way. The whole Lies of Lockmore, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm a little bit afraid because 3 books are out right now, and 7 is the total goal.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened over the years that have caused him to be really delayed. He had some like turmoil in his personal life, other stuff going on, and it's just also been like he excessively researches aspects that are going to appear in his book as well. So it's kind of slowed down. The fourth one's supposed to come out at some point. I don't know about 5 and 6 and 7, but this is one of the series that it's been going on for a very long time.
Mhm. So
All right.
I have
You're
a
up,
newer
Jolien.
one. This is actually a debut of 2021, and that's The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornicek. So this was actually advertised a lot as Circe, but then for Norse mythology. But I actually like this one better.
I like
So
Norse.
that's high praise. So in this one, we follow a witch, Angrboda, and I don't know a lot about Norse mythology, but apparently she mothered 3 of Loki's children, and it's what happens before and then after that. But because I didn't know anything about it, it was all new to me, and I didn't feel that this was a debut novel at all. I felt that this was complete, it was done, and it's a standalone, which is also sometimes nice when you read a lot of fantasy.
There aren't a
Yes,
lot
it
of
is.
those.
No, there definitely are. But I will say I love Norse mythology. It's kind of why I like a lot of the. Oh, I'm drawing a blank here. Rick Riordan, his stuff. That's
Rick
what I'm thinking of.
Riordan, yeah.
Rick Riordan. Middle school, middle grade, as they call it, or young adult YA. It's got a lot of that stuff in his books, and I just love them. I love the Rick Riordan books. They're so much fun to read with the Norse mythology in there. Love that stuff. All right,
All right,
Andrew,
my
you're
go,
up.
right?
Yep,
All right, so this is debut, right?
that's the idea. Yes.
I'm gonna do Voice of War by Zac Argyle. This is
Mhm.
one that I read this year. It's self-published, and as a self-published book, this is way better than it has any right to be. Let's face it. Like it takes a lot of what like Mistborn did, and then kind of like evolves it and turns it on its head. It's got good characters, great pacing, and just a really interesting magic system and world that I'm really interested to continue in. And definitely pick it up in the hardcover because it's awesome.
Yeah, that's a sick looking cover. I like
Yeah.
it.
Oh, you should see the
Yeah,
naked hardcover, man.
All right. Yeah. Let's see it.
Ooh. It's
That's
just like,
actually pretty cool.
yeah, I know. Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It is awesome. I had to have it.
Those are definitely on my list as well.
They just came out, so.
Fair warning to everybody who watches: you may find your book wish list grow exponentially as a result of these streams.
You should have put a disclaimer at the beginning, Drew.
I really should have. You're right. This disclaimer is retroactive to the beginning of the stream. I'm just going to put that there right now. All right. So prompt number 2: teachers. They're there to teach and guide you. Pick a character that is full of sage-like wisdom. For my pick on this one, I went with the great wizard Zedicus Zolzerander from Sword of Truth. I all throughout the series, in every book, a new wizard's rule is revealed, often by Zed, explaining some piece of wisdom or knowledge that is helping guide our heroes and our main characters on their quest to fulfill their destiny. And Zedicus Zolzerander, he's a bit of a quirky, old, crazy man, but he's also very smart, very wise. And he's essentially plays the mentor role to the war wizard Richard and Kaelin M. now throughout the series, and just love some of the stuff. Like, one of my favorite wizard's role, for example, is people are stupid. They'll believe a lie because they want it to be true or because they're afraid it's true. And just as an example, and just some really awesome stuff. Love the wizard's rules. Love how Zed kind of passes that wisdom onto Richard and Kaelin throughout the story. And that would be my pick for a character who passes on sage wisdom, even when they're a little bit kooky and crazy.
I still haven't read that, but I saw the show, and so I just am picturing the guy from the show.
Hey, that was a great actor for Zedicus in the show.
Yeah.
I
think that was the crazy guy from the Mad Max movies.
I didn't realize that.
It's too bad the show wasn't as good as the actor, but hey.
So for me, like this is a fantasy trope that I actually really like. I like the fantasy trope of someone who is wise and who is like guiding sometimes our protagonist through his journey of becoming himself, or becoming the best version of himself. And there are so many great mentions here. So I'm talking like Oramis from Aragon. I'm talking Dumbledore. I didn't like Harry Potter a lot, but like Dumbledore was a character I liked. Like Gar from The Faithful and the Fallen, and even Bias. Like Bias shows a lot of sides. There's a lot of sides to Bias, and I appreciated both sides in different ways. But like, I would still acknowledge him as that kind of person. But for this particular question, I had to go with Grumph. Now, Grumph is a dark elf in the Underdark in the D&D universe, and he's like in that world altogether, and he is so badass, guys. He's so like in it's dark fantasy, and he's a character. Like the world of the Underdark is a world where everyone is conniving, everyone is trying to backstab each other, everyone is always thinking in very, very cynical ways, and playing the role of a mentor who is supposed to be guiding like a main character, but also low-key like, this guy's getting too powerful, you know what, I might have to create like a contingency plan to kill him if he becomes more powerful than like. Just that dynamic I found very entertaining, that he's trying to help, but at the same time he's like, this guy might come after me, so I need to so that just that balance there, was very interesting for me to watch. And like reading that book, he had to be my pick.
Awesome. All right, Niko.
So I went with, which I still think fits, even though it's a little bit different, Benedict from Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I have here the first book, Dragonbone Chair. And what I especially love is Benedict is chock full of like wise sayings, and a lot of them are just like kind of strange sayings, because Benedict is a troll and he's explaining all of these different bits of wisdom in human tongue, basically, in the Westerling tongue. And so it's just constant for all these different situations. He always has some advice, but Benedict is actually fairly young to be the kind of typical like wise person trope. He actually was the apprentice of like the wise man of his people, and kind of had to step up all of a sudden. And Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn does a lot with that, where you don't get to rely on like the wise man kind of trope very much, and a lot of people are forced to just step up and figure it out anyway. I'm still reading through for the first time. I finished the second book just a few days ago, and just absolutely am loving this. So I'm really excited to get to Green Angel Tower. Some great classic fantasy that uses some familiar things, but did so much original items, just inspired so many different series that you can definitely see when reading it as well.
Yeah, from what I've heard about that book, it's a must read. It's a really, really good. Like it's like right up my TBR. Like it's right up there.
Mhm.
So
You know,
yeah, like I'm looking forward to getting to that.
Niko, you reminded me that book is on my wish list, as if I don't have enough in my shopping cart already. Thanks a lot.
Oh, it's so good. It's like, I mean, there's like George R. Martin took heavy inspiration for A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
I can see some stuff that Robert Jordan took inspiration from in Wheel of
Hmm.
Time. There's some inspiration that John Gwynne had in Faithful and the Fallen that you can see. There's a lot of things where you can see like, oh, I can definitely see this as being referenced, or was like things that were kind of aspects taken. So just some of like the really big, well-known fantasy and some of my favorites very obviously took inspiration from this. I'm like, that's something I have to read.
Mhm.
The people that are my favorites, what's their favorite? I got to read that. Yeah.
Awesome. All right,
Yeah.
Jolien, you're up.
Well, Dragonbone Chair is actually on my TBR, but it keeps getting like slapped back a little bit. But now it's higher still. It's one of my
Yes.
5-star predictions, so it's really weird that I haven't gotten to it yet. But okay, need to make it work. So for me, I actually realized that I don't have a lot of books where you have a Gandalf-like character. So I had to pick one that I don't really know if any of you read. I would be surprised, but it's The Dark Mirror by Juliette Mourillier, which is the first book in the Bride Chronicles.
Hmm.
So Juliette Mourillier always writes about druids and that time period in English history. So of course here you also have a druid, and I don't know how you pronounce his name. It's Broichan, if you take it literally, but it probably has a very special pronunciation. But I like it because he has his own agenda, almost a little bit like Bias, but he's still good deep down, but he just has his own agenda and everything else needs to make way for that. And even if he's wrong at times, he will never let you know because he's a druid and he needs to be always right. So I actually liked his character quite a bit, even though he was sometimes annoying because he just didn't want to think and have new ideas. He sticked with the old way.
All right, awesome. All right, Andrew, you're up.
All right, I'm gonna try and answer this while my ear is being twisted. I'm surprised Nico didn't go for this one. I'm gonna go with Moraine Damondred. She is basically the driving force for the beginning of this adventure. Like, if Moraine hadn't showed up, like none of our farm boys would have entered into the world. And she tries and guides them as best as she can, and they just fight her every step of the way, even when her advice is just so good. And eventually, like, you're just gonna be like, you gotta listen to Moraine eventually. And so for like the first 5 books, it's got to be Moraine for me.
That's a really good choice. I'm surprised I didn't think of it, but hey, Zedeki's Surrender's still good too.
Yeah, Zed is a solid choice.
Yeah,
I'm really surprised I didn't think of Moraine either, but I'm still on like a high from finishing the Stone of Farewell. So I think that's
I mean,
why that was
I'm rereading Stone tomorrow. So I'm starting that one.
See what Cersei said. Like her TBR is exploding, and yeah, I mean we're doing a good job.
There you go. All right. So, question number 3. Favorite subject. Everyone has that one class that's their favorite. Recommend a book from your favorite genre. Well, everybody who's been watching my channel might have an inkling of what I'm going to pick. This massive volume, this story, Stormlight Archive, Way of Kings. In fact, don't stop here. Do all the Cosmere. Stormlight, Mistborn, Elantris, Warbreaker. I haven't read White Sands yet, but it's part of the Cosmere. Read it anyway. It's still part of the Cosmere. I don't care if it's I'm reading it.
If he ever does a prose version.
This book, Way of Kings, just phenomenal. Love it. Love this and Mistborn are easily the top favorites for my favorite genres, but definitely Way of Kings, Brandon Sanderson. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I will read this a million times over.
I'm actually going to read that one I think I'm going to start in January 2022 and then finish the first 4 until 2023. And I think that then the 5th one is coming out. So I have it all planned out. I'm going to start.
Well, there's supposed to be 10, so I'm just going to reread it every time a new one's about to be released.
That's
Yo-
that's
And
what I've
then
done
after
too.
I've
Yolene,
after I'm all through all 10, then I'm going to reread them all again.
Yolene,
Yeah.
when you're doing that, let me know. We'll read it together. Maybe
Oh,
do a
yeah, that's good.
discussion as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do it.
I plan to take 3 months per book so that we can take it slow a little bit, and then it's 1 year in total, and then I have some live shows maybe at the end or something like that.
Let me
Nice.
know when you're doing that. I would love to be involved with that
Yeah,
if
okay.
it's cool.
It's
Yeah.
great.
Like he just like some of the things that Drew has said about like some of the characters in that series. Like I something I really want to check out.
It's so good. I will
So
say
good.
before you finish all of them, you should read some of the other Cosmere books, just or you won't get the full experience, especially with 3 and 4 of Stormlight. So I always recommend people read like Mistborn, Warbreaker, and probably Elantris
Hmm.
before. It's
I'm
not
good to go then.
required, but yeah, if you've
I,
read those, you will get a lot more, and I won't give any more specifics than that because I don't want to
no,
ruin
I
it. But
would have
you will
probably
get
read
much
Miss
more.
Bond by then. I would have probably like Miss Bond is like I'm reading that very soon.
Nice.
Totally.
This is now the Sanderson planning stream.
He needs to plan to read his books.
Sounds about right.
You
I
know,
was good with it.
I don't know if you guys know Brandon Bennett. Like he did like such a wonderful video today. He released it today. It's on Elantris, and just like some of the stuff he said about like Brandon Sanderson's like writing and some of the stuff he said about the characters. You know, really really exciting. He's a new booktuber, but he doesn't even seem like he's just started. You know, very interesting channel to watch. Go check him out, Brandon Bennett.
Random Bennett.
Yeah,
He's in our
he's in the
chat. So
stream.
Oh,
So
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, he's in the
Chat.
chat.
That's
He's
easy
here.
to
Yeah.
find.
Everyone say hi to Brandon. Hi, Brandon.
hi, Brandon. For a second, I thought you were being sarcastic. I'm like, I don't know if you guys know Brandon Sanderson.
Oh.
I'm like, yes, we do.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome if one of us knew him, then you could hook us up. All right. So Epic, you're up next.
So like everybody knows, man. I'm striving to be the king of grimdark one day. So I'm gonna go with like a book that is described as the grimmest of the grimdarks. Beyond Redemption. Oh my God, Andrew! When I was reading this book, I almost died. This guy, like basically did what I want to do with Cradle of Chaos. Is just drenched in everything that I love about books. Like everything I love about like I was reading the book and I was just lost from start to finish. Beyond Redemption, people. You're either going to love it, you're you're either going to love it, you're going to be appalled like two, three pages into it and just give up. You're either maybe you end up in a psych ward or like it's a dope book. Highly recommend. As a reader, I was immersed throughout. As an aspiring writer, aspiring grimdark writer, like I just enjoy the freedom.
Mm.
I thank you, man. I don't even need to show the picture. Beyond Redemption right
I
there.
gotcha. Yeah.
But like Michael Fletcher, what he did, and it's a debut novel too. So this I could have switched this with Bloodsong very easily. But the book as a writer, just seeing how much freedom he wrote with and how he executed it, how he maintains tone, the complexity of the magic system it's immersive and it's just. And I heard the second book, Mirror's Truth, is even
It-
better.
Yeah,
I
it
heard
is.
it's even better. I heard it's so. I am just like I can't recommend a book higher, and I can't wait to do the book review for it. Coming soon.
I've
Yeah,
got
I
it on
didn't realize that
audio.
was his debut.
Hmm.
I got this one, but I read Blackstone Heart first because it was shorter, and
Mhm.
so I'm gonna read probably She Dreams in Blood next. But I'll definitely Beyond Redemption. Just the plot of it, I was sold so instantly the first
See,
time I heard Fully Red talk about it.
you don't even understand. Like from the prologue, just the prologue, the way he, oh my god, this is my favorite book, man. I don't like.
I'm so excited to
So
read it.
there's always a thing of recency bias when you read a book you really like, and you're just like, oh, it's my favorite book. It's my favorite book, and I'm reluctant to do that. But no book has ever done this to me. And I don't want to. I know I have a tendency to overhype things, but I have. I don't. It's the book is good. It's really really. I can't recommend it highly enough.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Well, we look forward to seeing your review on it. All right, Niko, you're up.
All right, so I picked. I guess the way I read the question, I just thought it was like recommend a book from your favorite genre, not necessarily favorite. So, but I mean, like we've already mentioned Wheel of Time. I think everyone could figure out that I love that. But I picked something different, and that is The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington.
Ooh, I like that cover.
Yeah, and this is all of the covers are pretty nice looking but this is the first one of a trilogy called the Lycanius trilogy. And this a while back, I think was talked about a lot on BookTube, but I have seen a lot of people lately being like, "Oh, I want to read that," or "Oh, I still need to read that." And this was a debut actually as well. And it definitely has its flaws. And this is one author where you could definitely tell in points that he was a new author and was still getting some experience, but a really fun story, a lot of twists and turns, a really cool magic system, and just the world that was set up was really, really fascinating. And this is a pretty good sized book. They're all about this size, but I got through these so fast just because there was a lot of fun. So this too, I bought this originally because there was a blurb saying for fans of Wheel of Time and Brandon Sanderson. So I'm like, that's me. So I picked it up. And for once, it was actually a pretty good blurb. There's definitely, you could tell, a lot of inspiration taken from both Jordan's Wheel of Time and from kind of the way Sanderson approaches magic and world building a little bit too. So just a really, really fun trilogy that I definitely think more people should check out because I feel like it's kind of fell off the map a little bit. So.
Well, Sanderson's got some of the best magic systems, in my humble opinion. So
Yeah,
so
it's definitely it's different, but it's definitely it's almost like a combo of a Brandon Sanderson and with the One Power from Wheel of Time. It's like it's expanded to do it, so it's a lot of fun.
that sounds awesome. Actually, I might have to check that out. All right, Jolien, you're up.
Yeah, so I also didn't pick my favorite of all time because that's not a Juliette Mourillier book, and I don't think that any of you are going to read that. But this is one that I also really enjoyed, and that's the Chronicle of the Unhewn Throne trilogy by Brian Sibley.
Emperor's Blade.
Yeah, it's really good, and I think that this is also a debut novel. I'm not quite sure if this was his first one, but I think so. What I really liked here, this is grimdark, but not like Beyond Redemption level. It's a little bit more easily digestible. But this is actually somebody who has a degree in history, and you can really see it in its world building, in my opinion. And I really like that here. So you follow the 3 children of an emperor who has been assassinated. That's basically the beginning of the story. It's not really a spoiler. And they are all 3 at different parts of the world. So they can't really come to the capital quite easily. They don't really know each other anymore. They've been separated for years. So you have a lot of distrust, and it goes strange ways. And I really enjoyed this one. So definitely would recommend, especially if you like grimdark.
Yolene, I have failed you because I actually won the trilogy on her channel and I still haven't read them yet, but I want to really soon.
What
I
are you
deserve
waiting
the
for,
shame.
Niko? Trying to stay caught up on Discworld to me? Is that what you're waiting for?
I'm behind too. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna turn bad. Yeah, I gotta catch up on that too. But I definitely would like to read those this year. They're high on my list. It's Robin Hobb is destroying my life in the best possible way, but she takes up so much of my time. And then you introduce Tad Williams into the mix. It's just been really big, dense books have been just killing my.
I think you're trying to start Janie Warts.
That and there's Kate Elliott that I had to put on hold because I just couldn't fit anymore. But I've been reading a lot of really like dense authors and loving it, but it cuts back on the amount of books I could fit in there.
To be honest, since I joined BookTube, I've been like a kid in a candy store. Like I'm just like, oh shit, I have to read that. Oh shit, I have to read this. Like, you know. So like, yeah, I totally see your. I can empathize with your struggles.
Awesome. All right, Andrew, you're up.
Well, I've already showed it to you. It's going to be Blood Song by Anthony Ryan. And this is my first time reading Anthony Ryan. I picked it up because of Steve, and then I was buddy reading it with Walker. And he read it like 2 weeks earlier than I did. So, I mean, we were buddy reading it because I just couldn't fit it in. And this is very technically well written. I don't know if I'd call it grimdark. I don't get grimdark vibes off of it. But it does have like the battle school and the coming of age. And it's just literally every single page that I read in this book is a freaking delight.
It's delightful, bro.
I'm reading. I'm a very, very critical, very analytical reader. And usually when I'm reading something, I'm analyzing. Now, not on. I'm literally just in the story, enjoying it, and along for the ride. Valen Alsorna
Alsona.
is a
Sorry, just
fantastic
I don't want to take
character,
over this.
and there's 5 books with Valen, and I literally have started. Let's see, I'm picking up the Raven's Blades. I just bought the Pariah today. Like I'm collecting all of Anthony Ryan's works just based off of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
I would tell you
Same.
something. Okay, so first of all, right, I'm glad I'm not the only one ranting about Blood Song, because
I
Blood
haven't
Song
shut up to
is
Niko
such.
for 3 days.
No, you don't even understand. See, you don't even understand the same thing. I like if you listen to the discussion I had with when I did the read along with it with Yolene and I said the same exact thing you said, almost word for word. When I'm reading a book as a booktuber and like as someone that's read a lot of books, like I'm always like picking out technical things here and there. Like I after I closed the book, I was like, damn, I was looking for something bad to say because I was looking for something like I was looking for a fault and I didn't find any. Some people that like have read the book have some problems with it, and I can see what they are talking about. But in terms of like just pure enjoyment and immersion while reading a fantasy book, Bloodsong has everything I love in fantasy. And the reason I describe it, I didn't really get grimdark vibes as well. The reason I described it as grimdark was because when he was interviewed on Steve's channel, he said he described it as mild grimdark. And Andrew, I would really really like to see your thoughts when you read book two, because book two was
Yeah,
written
same.
in a very different way, very different way. I still enjoyed it, but
Mhm.
it's different. So
All right.
Hey, I've got all 3, and I've got the Draco's Memorias already.
One of these days
nice.
I'll get to Bloodsong.
Oh yeah, you really need to.
All right. So, question 4, syllabus. The basic layout for everything that's going to happen this semester. Pick a book that was predictable. Honestly, my pick for that was Red Rising.
Mm,
Mm.
And
Hmm.
I said
yeah,
because the setup of this book, it's basically Hunger Games on
mhm,
Mars, at least for the
yeah,
first book. We knew Daryl was being set up to be the hero, and we knew he was going to come out on top from the start. And if that's a spoiler for anyone that's watching, I'm sorry, but I found that to be predictable. Now, exactly what events would happen on his rise to the top is a whole nother matter. But I mean, come on, we know the hero was being set up from the start to be the hero. He wasn't going to fail and not be the hero. That was so easily predicted. And basically a Hunger Games on Mars. That's what I got from this. And of course the series really takes off from there and just gets so much better. But the first book was definitely had that vibe to it for me. So that was my pick, Red
mhm,
Rising. Still loved it, but come on, we all knew Daryl was going to win.
yeah.
I
So
Kaya
hated
says
it for
no.
most of those reasons. I agree with
Well,
Kaya.
she
Kaya,
needs
I
to read
feel
the book
you.
to find out.
Kaya says you're
Yeah.
wrong.
so this particular book, I honestly don't want anyone thinking I'm bashing it, like because like as a writer I learned a lot from reading this book, but like I could see the setups coming from a mile
Mhm,
away. And when I saw the setups coming from a mile away, like when they happened, I didn't get the emotional punch that I felt the writer was trying to like get out of me. But like I applaud it for the scale of what it was and for the fact that it was a debut series as well. The Faithful and the Fallen. Like I knew you were going to say that, Yolene, and
yeah,
because we had
same
a
pick.
discussion about it. However, right, I was like, no, if she has to answer this question first and she says malice, I'm going to say valor. but like but like the I applaud God John Gwen for a lot of things he did during that book. Like the scale of what he's doing, the fact that it's coherent and it's a well put together book. And 100% I could see myself really, really liking this book. Like when I was graduating from like small like mid tier fantasy to like large fantasy series, this is like a good book to transition from like this to like big boy books in fantasy, you know but like I saw the setups coming from a mile away. I didn't
Mhm,
feel some of the emotional impacts in book 3 Ruin. It got a lot better, but then
true.
at that point I was already like kind of like I was already kind of like a bit out of it. but it's a good series. Like I can admit that, and like yeah, like I still encourage people to read it.
Oh, I definitely will be. I will say this: predictability in a book is not inherently bad
It's
thing.
not a bad
And
thing.
when by the time you've read thousands of books, it's hard for an author to do something that you could not see coming because you've seen almost every kind of plot twist that could happen at that point. For me, it's not about predictability isn't bad, but how well do you execute the plot overall, and how well do you do that? Versus, did I know it was going to happen? Yeah, I figured it probably would, but how well did you pull it off? That's what makes it good for me, at least.
And it's definitely if something's predictable, that's not necessarily bad, but then if it's like really obvious and predictable and then the author acts like it was supposed to be a shocking twist or surprise, that'll annoy me because I'm like, no, we all know. But yeah, Faithful in the
Yeah.
Fallen is a series that it starts very tropey, very you can definitely see where it's going, and then it flips some of that on its head a little bit later on and kind of
Yeah.
builds off of it. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed that series. And my pick too is also not something I'm saying is bad, but I picked Dragon Slayer by Duncan M. Hamilton, which follows a very familiar kind of trope of it's the retired knight who's now a drunk is called out of retirement to slay a dragon, and it's literally called Dragon Slayer. So I think you can figure out just from
What
that what
happens?
happens. And so it's you this is one of those books you know from the start what's going to happen. It's very familiar. There are a few things that are done where it's like, oh, I didn't realize we were going to do that. That's interesting. But this is one of those stories too where it doesn't shy away from that. At no point does the author try to be like, you guess you or bet you won't know what happens next. He's like, no, I know you know this story. I'm doing a telling of this type of tale, and I'll be interested to see if things do get switched up in the next two because this is the first book of a trilogy. But this I enjoyed. It was a pretty light novel. But like I said, extremely predictable from the outset, but it kind of is just designed to be that kind of novel. So I'm not hating on it for that. It didn't blow me away by any means, but if you like a classic dragon slaying story, this is a solid read, pretty short.
Well,
So.
I mean, any
I
book
have
with
first books
dragons in
read
it's
all
fun.
three today, and I passed up on them.
Oh yeah. It's like I said, it's nothing crazy. I literally the only reason I bought this whole series is because I love the covers. They've got stylistic dragons on them. I was sold. I have bought books like that before that have not turned out even as good as this, and this was okay. It wasn't bad.
Dragons are awesome. Let's face it.
It's true. It's true.
All right, Jolien, you're up. I think you're muted there, Jolien.
I was gonna say she doesn't show muted, but yeah, I can't hear her.
Happens to the best of us.
I had a stream of live streams that I just had terrible random issues, including I recorded one with Andrew one time where my power went out 3 times while filming. Oh
I
my
saw that.
gosh. It
That was hilarious. I
it
took
was
over your
the
channel technically.
worst. It did like he rolled with it. He made it fun.
Yes, that's my name.
All right, well, while we're waiting for Jolien, why don't you go there, Andrew?
I was going to talk about Malice, but since Epic stole it, I'm going to instead change it to Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. It's a very, very, very D&D inspired story. You know what's going to happen. You know it's getting the band back together. You know that they're going to triumph at the end. And it's just from start to finish, you pretty much know all the beats of what's going to happen here.
I've been hearing a lot about the that particular series specifically.
It's really good. It's a lot of fun, but it's not a like. I wouldn't say it's a serious fantasy book. It's not trying to take itself seriously. It's very tongue in cheek. There's a lot of like 70s rock references in there. Like one of the axes is named after like an actual guitar player's guitar. And it's just like a ton of like little things like built into the world. Don't bite. Ouch.
Yeah, well, just the idea of being inspired off of like 80s rock bands or 90s rock bands or whatnot, that just sounds awesome. That just sounds like it'd be a lot of fun.
Nico
was
didn't love
definitely
the
a
book,
fun
but I
book.
think Nico had different expectations. It wasn't sold to him correctly.
Daniel Green.
It's not grimdark.
No, it's 100% his fault because he hyped it up and explained it as a very different book from what it was completely, and so I had completely different expectations, and that's why I still enjoyed it, and it was a very fun read. But I agree, it is meant to be more of a fun read. Like there's some serious moments in there as well, but it's more so just kind of a fun ride. Like you're going on this adventure with a party from a D&D group, and it's definitely most people I think would enjoy it if you approach it that way. But it was just like, yeah, it was sold to me as like this just like this amazing, extremely like well crafted story that was just like every part of it was amazing, blah blah blah. And it just was like it was good. I enjoyed the characters and I enjoyed the overall plot, but it was fairly predictable and there were kind of just odd tone shifts. And so yeah, I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as I probably should have. But it was still a good book.
I have a
Oh,
question.
Sure.
So it's two very contrasting opinions on the same book. We have all read like the Dragonlance novels, which are also based off D&D. How would you compare that with the Dragonlance
Way
novels?
more updated than Dragonlance. Like
Huh.
it feels like a novel, but it. Are you disagreeing with me? Anyway,
I think so.
you haven't read the book. Either of them. Yeah, it's. I'll let Nico.
So
Oh,
what Andrew
Yolene's
was
back.
saying
I
is
think
that
so.
Kings of the Wild. Hey, yeah, we can hear you. But
Okay.
Uh,
Super.
what I'm pretty sure he was going to say is Kings of the Wild definitely reads more like a novel first that has elements from D&D versus the Dragonlance novels, where sometimes they read very strongly D&D and less so like a novel. And so from the motions, like we've talked about this a lot. We do have almost identical opinions on most things. So this was one of the rare ones we experienced it differently. But yeah, it's definitely a novel. It just has a lot of D&D references and then kind of the 70s rock references. Especially at the end when it's naming a bunch of heroes, and a lot of them, like Neil the Young, are very noticeable who they're talking about and things like that as an example. So it is the first in the series of at least I think 3, and 2 are out for Coffee Over Apples.
You said it's
All right.
not grimdark.
No, not at
Okay.
all. No, it's more like lighthearted fun with some.
There's
serious
a
moments.
heartfelt moment that could be mistaken for having grimdark elements, but because it has that elements, does not make it grimdark.
All right. Fair enough.
Yolene, your dog
Uh,
is adorable.
Thank you.
I just
Yes, all right.
noticed.
Well, now that Yolene's back, let's circle back to Yolene. So we were on the question about predictable books. So what was a book that was predictable for you?
Yeah, so for me it was also Malice, what Epic said. And I agree that it's not per se a bad thing. But with the first book, I thought that I was really smart because I got something that I thought, okay. But then we did the live chat and everybody got it. So I was like, okay, maybe it's just normal. And throughout the books, I could always see a little bit what was going to happen. You had the normal characters who died, but you could almost predict like, okay, these characters are expandable, so these are going to die, and then our core, you felt a little bit safe. But I haven't read the last one yet, so maybe it changes. And I must say that each book got better.
Each
So-
book got better.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's always good when each book gets better for sure.
And just one more thing on this topic. Like I heard, like Shadow of the Gods is on another level.
Yeah,
So
same.
like-
It is completely different, I would say. Like the
Mm.
prose is definitely better, but like that I kept hearing that too. I actually read that before finishing Faithful and the Fallen, so that's just the disclaimer I would give. It's a very different style of novel. Is trying to do something very, very different too. So I don't feel like they compare that well. But the prose is definitely much, much improved, and it's kind of more streamlined. After finishing Faithful and the Fallen, though, I loved how it ended. My enjoyment increased with each book too. The last 2 were 5 stars for me. So
I'm
I
predicting
really
5-star
enjoyed
for that whenever I get to it. Which
it was a slow start because I rated Malice the same as what I rated that Dragon Slayer book, I think. And so that should tell you.
well, there
But then
you go.
it went up significantly as I went along.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's good. That's good. So moving on to question number 5. Pencils. I knew I was supposed to be taking notes, but mainly I just draw. Pick a character who's an artist. Everyone probably already knows who I'm going to pick.
can I go
Shalon
first?
Devar.
Can I go first? Dang it! No, I couldn't think of another artist off the top of my head.
Oh, Niko, you're gonna be so mad when you get to me.
Shalon
Who did I
Devar.
miss? Oh no.
She's a great artist. Everyone knows that. I mean, and come on, Niko. You knew I was going to pick Shalon. You know how
I was
obsessed I am with
hoping
Stormlight.
we'd go like front to back so that maybe I'd get to go before you. Because yes, I did. I knew you would, and I didn't know if anybody else would too.
All right. Epic, you're up next.
So I was going to go with Blood Song, but I don't want to like repeat books, but I'll just say something very quickly about Blood Song. Venier's account, like he's basically like a writer, poet, historian. He's an artist, and like Anthony Ryan. This is not a Blood Song review, guys. I promise you. But anyway, Anthony Ryan like did something with he used both first person and third person in this book, and I've never seen that done before. His execution of it was really good. Like
Yeah.
some of the thoughts that Venier had as an artist are thoughts I've had myself, so it was very very authentic. I'm going to go for a book that I recently read. I recently finished, and it's by a booktuber, and it's a good friend of mine. But like, make no mistake, I'm not saying it's good because he's my friend. But like Weavers, I just finished Weavers, and I'm going to be doing a review for that. So Amber in Weavers was very artsy. Like she did music, she danced, she was very she opened up like she really introduced, like gave a lot of color the way artists do to like some of the other characters in the book. And it's why it's not my usual type of read, but yes, she was, for me, she stood out for me. And she's a really awesome character. She's a case where like I feel like something John did very well was that he was able to he wrote the way he wrote Amber, like he wrote like women, like a woman, very well. I didn't feel like, okay, he was just including a woman because we live in today's society and you better include a woman. I felt like he included it, like his character, Amber's character, was very very like rich, so for this question, I'm going with Weavers. Read that book, guys. Support fellow booktubers, and it's a good book by itself, so check it out.
There you go. Well, we look forward for your more extensive review coming up.
I got you, man. Tuesday,
Niko.
Wednesday.
Awesome. All right, Niko.
You're on
there.
mute. Niko, you're on mute.
Sorry, I muted for a second earlier because my dogs were barking. I didn't realize, but I think I'm your designated book holder upper at this point, if I have them at least. But I didn't think of that either. So I'm gonna try and steal Andrew's answer now. Is what I think I'm gonna do. But I agree. Just for the record, Weavers is good. I really don't read YA either, and I was so afraid I was going to hate this, and I have to tell Walker I hated it, but I actually really enjoyed it. So I was really happy about that, because it's always hard when you're reading a book of somebody you know. Like, I'm not going to lie, but it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. So I'm torn now, since I can't use Shalon, between cheating and saying Weishi Linden from Unsold, because he's a sacred artist. Not the same thing.
No,
but
it counts. It counts.
It counts. Artist is in the name.
It counts. It has to.
To be extra mean, I'm guessing that Andrew chose The Fool. Oh, I got it. Yes. Okay. Oh, I feel like I'm winning over. I'll go with Weishi Linden. I won't false steal your answer. I'll let you explain. But I was trying to figure it out. Well, the way you said it, I'm like, I knew it was going to be something I would be pissed that I didn't think of, because I absolutely didn't think of that. But I originally picked Shalon too, because she definitely does a lot of art, and her use of magic is really related to art as well. But yeah, I can talk a little bit about Unsold. I just read the first one. And I enjoyed it. I had a few issues with it, but the magic system and kind of the way it's done is just doing all of these different things and like cycling it through yourself is a really interesting magic system. So they do consider themselves artists, for how they weave the magic together, so to speak.
That counts. And then there's Arlen Bales. I'd consider him a tattoo artist from the Demon Cycle.
Nico,
That's
I have
even
a
more of a
very
stretch. I like
Nico,
it.
I have a very quick question about Unsold. So I've read it as well, and I've also read a couple of other Will White novels. And I have a question for you: what type of fantasy is that? I asked Andrew this on his comment section. It for me, it's I've never experienced something like that. Like what type of fantasy does Will White write? It's not
So
classic fantasy. It's not grimdark. It sounds like a mixture of anime and fantasy
yeah, it's my understanding that it's called progression fantasy, uh,
progression.
which is like where you're like leveling up. And it did definitely remind me of anime, even though I'm not very familiar with anime. But so that's supposed to be what that is. I don't know if his other series are like that, but that was, yeah, we talked about it a bit in Discord about it. And so it's progression fantasy is, I think, the term. So I have not read that. I tried to read Gunslinger, and it was the new record for fastest DNF ever. So
Same.
And I've been hearing so much about Gunslinger and the Dark Tower that I bought the Gunslinger, but I was worried I might not like it as much because I've never really been big into King. So I just bought the first one before I decided to buy the rest.
No, but I
yeah,
heard it gets better, and I heard for the
Yeah.
people that like slugged it through till when it got better, like they are very glad they did. But of
I
course,
literally
I
too.
would never tell anyone keep reading. It gets better. Like nah, like
Yeah,
emotional energy is finite.
I actually like the Gunslinger.
it's a lot of people told me that they DNF'd it 2-3 times before finishing it, and then became huge fans of the series. So like, it's most people were cool with it. They're like, no, even people who love Dark Tower, like it does suck. You're right, but it if you get through it, it will get better. And so I appreciate it. I thought I'd get some hate for that, and everyone's like, no, you're right. It does suck. The first one is not nearly as good, and so it was such an odd experience when
Well,
I'm like,
I'm glad to
DNF
hear
it.
that. I'm glad to hear that
Yeah.
because if I didn't hear that it gets better, I might be one of those people that quit after the first one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, Jolien, you're up.
Yeah, I'm also a little bit annoyed with myself that I didn't think of the Fool. It's yeah, that would have been the best pick. And well, we have been giving a lot of love for Bloodsong, but I think I I didn't pick Vernier, although that would have been a
He's
really good choice.
but I know who you're going for. You're going for Valen's sister, right?
Yes,
Yes,
Alornis, yeah.
Lauren
So
is such an artist.
she's more an
La la
artist.
la la la.
No, no, no. It's just saying she's an artist. It's like saying a
I'm not
wizard
going
is
to
a.
give anything away. Yeah. But she's more like a typical artist. She's a sculptor, she's a painter, and I liked that in this bleak world of a sense that you then have somebody who appreciates art and experiences that. So yeah, she's a minor role, but I liked her part in the trilogy.
Hey, anything counts as art. Books, music, paintings, drawings, videos. I mean, hey, us
Mhm.
booktubers are artists when we put together videos. That's my argument.
I like that.
Yeah, it is. It is 100%. Are you kidding me? Of course.
All right, Andrew, you're up.
All right, so I'm gonna go with the Fool.
Really?
I didn't see that
Woodworker.
coming, Andrew. I'm
I
shocked.
know. I'm surprised that Niko didn't think of it. Shush, I'm speaking. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So the Fool is he's fantastic. He makes puppets in the Farseer trilogy, and basically he learns woodworking while he is during the events of the third book. You want to tell it? I didn't think so. Anyway, yeah. So his puppets are very lifelike and have a real artistic flair.
Ooh, lifelike, artistic, flared puppets. I like it.
It's not a horror book. Don't be fooled. But
But that just sounds cool. All right. So moving on to the prompt number 6. Books. Those things that have all the knowledge in them. What books are you currently reading? I'm actually reading 2 right now. Well, kind of. Technically, I'm not reading this one yet. I haven't yet started it, but the plan is to start pretty quick here. So, Heart of Black Ice by Terry Goodkind. Book 4 of the Nikki Chronicles from the Sword of Truth world. I've mentioned it in passing before, I think, on the channel. I love the Sword of Truth. It's what got me into epic fantasy. 2 of my kids are named after the characters in the series, Kaylin and Kara. And it is this book series that got me into epic fantasy and big epic tome fantasy. And by the way, don't read anything by Goodkind that isn't Sword of Truth, because all of his non-Sword of Truth stuff really sucks. But this is great stuff. I love it. So this is up on my next read. I'm also in the process of doing a reread on the Shadow campaigns with the 1,000 Names. I read the first 3, so I wanted to reread the first 3 before moving on to books 4 and 5 by Django Wexler. So this is more of this one particularly, this series, awesome, it's kind of a military fantasy story in a desert setting. Kind of gives that Napoleonic era vibes. You got like muskets and bayonets and that kind of stuff. Is the kind of weaponry that the military has. And so the magic is not a huge factor front focus of the story, but it's definitely there and kind of plays a role. But it's not like Sanderson, where magic is like a key part of the whole story. So if you like desert fantasy, military fantasy, this is a good series for you. I'm enjoying it, and enjoying it my second time around as well. All right, Epic. What do you read?
I am currently reading Dune. Ah, so
awesome.
I read Dune before. Like I read Dune a long time ago, right? And fit to be read, man. He's my go-to person for sci-fi. Check out his channel; is dope. But I read Dune a long time ago when I was much younger, and I'm reading it again, and it feels like a completely different book because like I'm able to appreciate what the writer was doing a lot more. Now, like I do not like from the get-go, from the first page, I have been totally engrossed in it, and I can already see how this book influenced a lot of other books. Dune is a classic, and it's a classic for a reason. I do not actually mind the writing style. Um, he there's a way there's something he does with his omnipresent perspective where he's kind of in the heads of everybody, but I like how he's able to like create tension. Just you know what is going on in this person's mind, you know what's going on in everybody's mind, and it's like that you can feel the tension in the air, which is quite different from stuff I've read before, like people that like stick to just third person or first person. So I'm really enjoying it. And for me, that I am writing, I'm a writer. Like I feel like this, just seeing how he evolves his ideas is very, very, very beneficial for me. So like Dune, highly recommend.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I agree.
Totally. I would say Dune is one of those sci-fi epics that isn't about science fiction. And that's, for me, what makes it so good. I think that some of the best stories aren't about the genre. Like, there's science fiction stories that are all about the science. But then there's stuff like Dune that you could take all the science fiction elements out of it, and it would still be an amazing story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the
I need to
movie
reread
already
it one of
out?
these days.
It's
For you?
coming
End
out
of
second,
October.
no, it's 22nd
okay.
of October.
It depends on
Love
where
it.
you are. It's out in Europe.
Yeah, I've seen it, but I didn't know if it was out in the US already.
Oh, now I'm jealous. You've seen Dune
Ooh.
already? It's out for you?
Yeah,
That
it's
is
out in Europe
totally not
already.
fair.
It came out like last week.
Yeah, I think 2 weeks ago or last week, something like that. I immediately went to see it in the avant premiere because I was so excited, and it's really good. I think that all of you are going to like it.
Mm.
I actually just bought the Folio Society version of the book because I love it so much. And that narration is called Third Person Omniscient.
Yes, omniscient. Yeah, omniscient.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was doing a diaper thing.
Yeah,
It's all
it's
good.
what I'm trying to do. It's kind of what I'm trying to do with Cradle of Chaos, but like this just showed me how much I need to learn.
Yeah,
'Cause,
Herbert's a master of it.
he's
Absolutely
crazy,
like,
yeah.
Amazing. Love
Yeah.
his stuff. All right, Niko, what are you reading?
So I didn't realize we were doing multiple. So I'll do the 2 technical ones I'm reading that I'm not really reading, because the first one's Prior of the Orange Tree, which I last read on August 16th, and I soft put it down, Yeah,
I heard Andrew loves it.
he quit very quickly. I wasn't liking it, but I wasn't hating it enough to completely DNF. But I'm like 78 pages in is where I left off according to Goodreads, which is 9% of the book. And I was not enjoying it that much. And I was about to go on vacation. I wasn't going to bring it with, and I haven't gone back to it. Completely different situation, but I also read the first chapter of The Curse of the Mist Wraith by Janny Wirtz, which is book one of a like 10 plus epic fantasy series called The Wars of Light and Shadow. And it blew my mind and it was amazing, but I'm like, I do not have time to read this right now. So I've been forcing myself to not go back to it because it's long and it's very dense, but I'm so excited to read it. Other people had started the series and I was so jealous. I'm like, I'll just read like the first chapter. And it was a mistake because I want to read it now. But like I said, the main thing I'm reading right now is Robin Hobb, Fool's Fate, third book in Tawny Man. And oh my gosh, I adore Robin Hobb. I enjoy all of her books, even when nothing is happening. I just absolutely love it. And this book, I started it like a day or two ago, and I'm 184 pages in right now. It looks like, and I've been flying through, and I can't wait to finish because Andrew's already finished, and so I need to finish.
Just finished it today.
I need to finish it because I want to know what happens. And he kept like teasing things. But yeah, Robin Hobb is a hard author to recommend because she's amazing and I love all of her books, but there are a lot of reasons why a lot of people would not. And if the style doesn't work for you, you're gonna hate some of her books. But I mean, Robin Hobb became one of my favorite authors in the middle of the second book she wrote. In Realm of the Elderlings, and so this is the 9th book, and I just love it. Love her so much.
If you guys don't stop talking about Robin Hobb, I might be forced to move it up my TBR.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do
I mean,
it.
and I have it.
Yeah.
I have them. Like they're all right here. I've got them.
Yeah.
I've got them, but I haven't gotten to them yet.
Priory today, by the way.
Oh, one of those was a Shannara book. Oops, but you know what I mean.
I was gonna say
I
one of
got
these
'em.
things. It's not like you have. Yeah, you may love it as much as most of us here I think do. Epic, I don't know if you haven't read, have you?
I haven't read it, but like I really want to. I really want. I've
Okay.
already bought some of like the I have some of the ebooks already, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
I was pretty sure that was the case. But yeah, Andrew has just finished the book that I'm reading, and Jolien, I know you've read most, if not all.
No. I also finished the first 9, so I'm at the same level as
Oh.
Andrew. Yeah.
So we're all
I
at
haven't even
about the same
started yet,
time.
and
We'll catch up, you
behind.
guys.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's there. I showed you. I have them. They're on my shelf. I promise I'll read
Yeah.
them. All right,
the
Jolien,
first book starts a little slow until you kind of figure out what Hobbes' style is, but it's just one of those things. I feel like you'll either fall in love or you'll be like, I don't know if
Yeah.
this is for me. And it's okay if it's not for you, because I've heard a lot of people say that, and I get why. It just clicks with me so well.
Yeah,
I should
it's the
stop
prose
talking
I'm so
now.
interested in. Like I'm the prose I'm interested in like seeing what she does with her prose because everyone who loves
Amazing.
her says her prose is insane. So
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it as well. All right, Jolien, you're up. What are you reading?
Okay, so I am reading 3 books at the moment, but so the first one is For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. This is also a debut novel, I think. It came out in June or July, and it's the first one in a series, the Wilderwood series. So I thought that it was going to be a Red Riding Hood retelling because her name is Red and she needs to go to the wolf. But apparently, it's Beauty and the Beast retelling. But I'm really enjoying it. It's dark fantasy, so I think that this is perfect for people who are looking for something darker to read in October towards Halloween, but don't want to go into full horror, like me, because I'm afraid if I have to read horror. But I'm really liking it so far. I'm only 150 pages far, but I want to finish it next week. It's a really easy read, so I should be able to do that. And then next up, I don't know. I think that maybe Andrew has read this one. Is Kings of Ash by Richard Nell. So it's the second book in the Ash and Sand trilogy by him. It's also this one is grimdark. I just finished the first one, really enjoyed it, gave it 5 stars, and I don't really give 5 stars easily, but yeah, I have a live show planned next Saturday, so I need to finish it by then. And it's only 600 pages, so it should be possible, but like it's filled from top to bottom He doesn't leave any space.
Mm.
So it's longer than it looks. And then the last one, I'm listening on audio, so I don't really have the physical copy, but that's The Queens of Innislear by Tessa Gratton. It's very whimsical. It's about 3 siblings who want to take the throne. It's actually King Lear retelling, but I haven't read the original one. Really loving that one, but I think that it might be better as a physical read because the prose is very good, but you can't really appreciate that, or I can't appreciate that to the full extent when I'm listening to it. So I might switch to the physical copy.
Makes sense.
Right.
Andrew DNF to the first book of Kings of Paradise, I think.
Oh,
But it was because of a specific event that he didn't want to read, not because he didn't like the book. I should specify.
It started way too dark for me. Like it was
Yeah,
like
okay.
literally, let's eat a child, and I was like, oh, okay, no
That's true.
thanks.
That was the book that you reviewed, and I was like, I want to read it.
For me, I just finished Fool's Fate today. Yes, I did. I promise. And so I am starting The Stone of Farewell. I've already read this. This is a reread for me. But it's been 5 years since I read this, and it's so beautiful. And I'm super excited because I was somehow supposed to gonna try and finish it before the end of the month. If I try and finish this in 3 days, I'll die. So
Probably.
I'm gonna
Very
have
possible.
some carryover into next month.
I never set a timeline for finishing a book. I just try to get a certain amount of minimum reading time a day, and I finish it when I finish it.
It's I just finished that on Friday, and I stayed up. I think. Well, actually, no. I think it was Thursday because I stayed up way too late to finish it. So it's almost done. Yeah, so good. Tad Williams too does have just some of the most beautiful prose I've read. He's another one of those authors where at points you'll get to a paragraph and you just have to read it again because you're like, man, that was just beautiful. His is really good too. Janie Wirtz does that too. Is another one where you'll get it and you'll read something and be like, what did I just? I have to read that again to fully suck that in. Just a beautiful paragraph.
Awesome. So it's always good when an author can do that. All right. So prompt number 7, backpack. I used to cram entirely too much stuff into mine. Pick a book that had just way too much crammed into it. I had to go with Malazan.
That was
Not
my
one,
choice
the
too.
whole series. I'm
That
just
was my
grabbing the
choice
first
too.
book,
Nah,
Gardens of
I'm
the Moon.
sticking with it.
You know, when I started this series, I thought I could do one every month, no problem. And then I thought, oh, this is just too much. And see, that's when I started reading Discworld every single month. And that's when I got ahead of Niko. Now, Niko's trying to get caught up to me in Discworld. But yes,
I got caught up
Malazan.
and I immediately got behind. So
Yeah, Malazan, Book of the Fallen. I'm doing like one every third month now until I'm done this series. But yeah, this it doesn't even look that thick, but it's thick. There's just so much in Malazan, Book of the Fallen. It's just too much.
I think it was designed to be small like that to like lure you in. It's like, oh,
That-
you don't know
that
what
had
you're
to be
getting
it.
into.
That
You know,
has
like
to be it.
so I'm like reading Malazan, I'm slugging through it, and I'm like feeling okay. I'm piecing the story up together, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not meant to understand that yet, and I'm going and I'm going and I'm going, and then I talk about my experience on my Discord, and someone tells me the first book doesn't even really matter in the whole series, and someone else tells me that, oh, there are plot lines that go nowhere. And I was like, you know what? I'll put this down for a while again, you know. But like, Malazan is a behemoth of a book. Like, I am going to read that book. Like, if it's the last thing I do, but I feel like it's a challenge to myself. I'm not necessarily reading it because like at least right now, because I heard like at some point I'm going to start enjoying it. I'm not even reading it because I'm having such a good. I'm reading because I'm like, no, I'm not let this book defeat me. But yeah, Malazan was my choice as well, the first book.
I definitely get that. I always tell people like when I read Malazan, it was years ago, and it took me with reading pretty much nothing else. It took me about a year to finish
Yeah.
the series because I was hate reading the first half of every book. And then I loved the second half of every book, like without fail. Hated the first half every book, had to force myself to read, then I'd be like hooked for like the second half or so. It's a rough series. Like it
Yeah,
is definitely a
it is.
series you will not enjoy reading for large parts at times. And there are definitely rewards. But yeah, I always warn people, like, looking back, fantastic. Going through it, terrible time, a lot of it. So it's
I've got to
definitely
love
one of
hate.
those things. Yeah,
It's a love,
I get
hate.
it.
I love
I
it, but I
paused
hate
the
it.
series after book 3. Like books 1 through 3 is enough of an arc for me. It was a good stopping point. I said I'm done for a while.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. All right, so you're up next, Niko, I believe.
Yeah, that was not my pick. I just was commenting. So I almost for this one, but I knew it would get brought up for one of the prompts, and it did. So I almost picked Faithful and the Fallen, because I'm using this slightly different because with each of the Faithful and the Fallen books, I wish that either there were a couple more books or like each one was like 300 to 400 pages longer, because I like slower stuff and they were so fast paced. And there was so much there. Like you could have easily done the same story and gone way, way longer. That just isn't Gwen's style. But I wanted to go with something a little bit different, and for very similar reasons. So I went with Legend by David Gemmell, because this book is a little under. It's actually, it's 362 pages. This has probably, at least like 450 or so pages worth of content. Like this could have easily been 50 to 100 pages longer. And at points, I actually wish once again that it would have been, just because sometimes we so abruptly move to different things. And don't get me wrong, this was a great book. And this was like an easy 4 stars for me. Also a debut for the record. But it was a really, really great book that I really enjoyed. But I could have used a little bit of slowdown, a little bit more put into the transitions instead of just, pinballing around. So I think there was a lot put in here. Expanding and slowing down a little bit, I would have enjoyed.
Mhm.
All right, awesome. And Jolien, you're up.
So I first wanted to go with Wheel of Time, but I thought let's pick something a little bit safer with this crowd. So,
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
that's why I didn't pick it. Oh, shame. So
Hey, you can pick Wheel of Time. I just won't promise people will be happy with you.
yeah, we already know that I wasn't the biggest fan of that series. But another one that I thought had just unnecessary details was The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buhlman. It's also a new release of this year, I think, and some people love it, some people don't, and I'm in the second group, it appears. It's not that the story is really dense or that it's really fast paced, but it feels like he's an author, I think, that normally writes horror, and now he dipped his toes into fantasy. And it feels like he had so many ideas and he wanted to put everything in it that weren't really necessary. For instance, he describes his coins into excruciating detail. And I don't need to know that, how a coin looks here and there and what's on it. So that annoyed me a little bit. And I think that it could lose some of the details and then maybe expand the story more, because it's a quite short book. So to have that much world building into so excruciatingly detailed, I didn't need that. So I DNF'd it. So
All right.
That was really interesting because when you said that, I'm like, I didn't get that at all from that book. But then as you explained, I'm like, okay, actually, no, I kind of see that. I was really in the middle. I thought it was like, I enjoyed it. I wasn't like in love with it and I didn't hate it. I think I did like 3.5 stars. So like I was in the middle for it, but it was fun. But it definitely was more focused on world building than anything else. So I can definitely see that. That makes sense.
Yeah, and Jordan definitely has a reputation for excessive description.
Yeah, I mean that's also totally fair. That's I always joke that the most hardcore Wheel of Time fans are also the people who will complain about the flaws the most and usually the most gratuitously. So all in good fun. I mean, that's completely fair to say. It's a 6-book series that ended up being 15. It's it's all good.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Andrew, you're up.
All right, I'm going to try and get through this without getting yelled at because it's way past your bedtime now. This is the only book I've got a full spoiler discussion on and a critique, and that is Joe Abercrombie's Best Served Cold. This book started out Hold on.
Kaya's basically running the show, man.
Yeah.
Look at her, queen. That's her
Okay.
throne right there.
This book started out stellar 5 out of 5. After part 2, it just quickly starts going downhill for me. I know a lot of people love this book. There's just way too much going on in this story. Everybody's seeking revenge upon everybody else to the point of it being a little ridiculous. And frankly, I'm excited for the heroes because I heard the heroes is a lot better. But this book was, for a book that started with so much promise, I felt it was incredibly disappointing.
You know something, like the like anytime Andrew is reviewing Joe Abercrombie, like I listen very closely because he has like a love-hate relationship. He mentions what he likes about it, but the stuff he hates, he really hates. You know, so
Yeah.
like I and I don't know how to describe it, but there are some tendencies that Joe Abercrombie has that I do not appreciate myself. But and everyone knows if you watch my channel, Joe Abercrombie. But like I am not as hype as I was to like read the standalones. But I heard that okay, I might like it, I might not like it. So it's very interesting that like your opinions about it.
I think
Yeah.
I think his stories just need more editing. They need reining in. And I know that's an incredibly unpopular opinion, but I read for catharsis, and he writes such great characters in such and an interesting world. I don't need mustache twirling. I don't need 8 characters in this book, each seeking revenge upon the next character. Like, it's too much.
Yeah.
And it just, by the end of the book, I was just done. I was happy it was over.
He also pulled in
Harsh.
that book one of those obvious from the first page twists and then made it seem like it was supposed to just blow your mind. And I'm like, from the first page, that was like really evident that was going to happen, but okay. But yeah, I have a really love-hate relationship with Abercrombie. He's an extremely talented author.
Yes,
But
very talented.
I
He just doesn't know when to
usually,
stop writing.
yeah, I usually end up soured by the time I get to the end of his book. Did not like the end of Last Argument of Kings.
Same.
Didn't really like a lot of things about Best Served Cold, but the ending annoyed me. The Heroes was my absolute favorite Abercrombie book that I have read until the ending when he just had to keep going. And it just, I still really enjoyed it, but he just has to keep going and like just shoving the cynicism and sarcasm into your face just more and more. It's like, we get it. You're Joe Abercrombie. That's what you do. Calm down. We understand.
He has a thing of creating very good characters, but he doesn't really care to develop them past what he's already established about them. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't, because it's like the last argument of Kings. I don't want this to be a whole job becoming thing, but like the last argument of Kings, like I did not have a problem with how the characters turned out because like he teased what they were in the first and the second book. But then in the last book, it was only Giselle that actually experienced like a character like progression. I don't care if it's negative or positive, but I want to see my characters learning new things. But the regression of, but anyway.
Yes, we could go on and on and on about that. All right, so final prompt, just as we're going into the wrap-up stage of the stream. The last one is tag some booktube friends that you would like to see do this tag. So what I'm going to do is we're each going to tag a different booktuber, and I am going to tag Bookish Chaz here. I'll have all the tag channels linked below as well. Bookish Chaz has a fun channel. We're actually going to be doing a stream with him next month concerning the Foundation TV series, so I'm looking forward to that. Sorry, early announcement on that. So I'm tagging Bookish Chaz. I would love to see his answers to these questions, and that'd be fun. Look forward to seeing that. And Epic, who do you tag?
I drag Brandon Bennett. He just recently did like a breakdown of Elantris, and just like he's also a writer as well, so he has that unique perspective of appreciating a book from a writer's perspective and also from a reader's perspective. So I want to see him do this tag. I want to see what he recommendation from his favorite genre. I want to see like a debut novel that he rates highly. I want to see. I would really like to see. I think if he does this tag, it would be very interesting to watch. Plus, it's a new booktuber. Check him out. Dope guy.
Excellent. All
All
right,
right,
and
so
Nico.
yeah, so I am going to tag Baron from Your Brain on Books. So I know he's somebody who is in our Discord, and I had recently seen some of his videos because I'm insanely behind on watching people's videos from the Discord.
Same.
But I saw some videos recently, and it seemed like he'd be really fun. So I think this would be a cool one to see his answers for.
Okay, so I am going to tag Steve Talks Books and stuff. Most of my read-alongs and discussions about books are with Steve, so I'm interested to see what he picks so that I can put some new books on my TBR because it isn't too full already.
Okay,
Right.
well, my TBR is plenty full. Thank you very much. I am going to tag Stephanie from Stephanie's Bookverse. I've done a bunch of Robin Hobb shows with Stephanie, and she's a lot of fun. She's currently back to school, and so I'm tagging her because, well, I think she would have some stuff to say about going back to school, and I'd like to see her recommendations for this in this tag.
All right. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This has been a lot of fun.
Yes.
Lots of great books. I'm sure everybody's TBR is now piling up exponentially as a result of this. This is why I love doing these book tag live streams with other content creators because it's so much fun. It opens up that discussion. Book tags are fun, but I mean, you're just talking at a camera. I love having that engagement with other booktubers.
Mhm.
I hope to do
100%.
more of these more frequently, hopefully. And it's been really great and a lot of fun. So definitely I want to say a big thank you to all of you for joining me on the Back to School book tag. This has been a lot of fun. I love hearing everybody's thoughts on the different books that the prompts bring about in the discussion. That is always so much fun. So again, thank you everybody who has tuned in live to watch. Thank you everybody who's
Thank
watching
you.
on the replay. Like, comment, subscribe to everybody here. Their channels will be linked below. I will get the people who have been tagged. I'll get their channels linked, updated within the next day here. And thank you so much, everybody, for watching. It's been a lot of fun. And, until next time, keep on reading. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.